It is Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Welcome to the Lee Company Studios here in Muletown as we continue to progress here physically. It's coming right along, both in the studio and in the office as a whole. So welcome in. Glad to have you. We'll be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. I'm not sure if we're actually going from preps to pros today or not, but we may. Well, yeah.
Well, we can make it happen.
We probably can between now and 4 o'clock.
Ain't no doubt
that happen. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye out for the preps part of it. But yeah, big show. In the second hour, as we typically do on Tuesdays, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Hopefully his ears are okay from yesterday. In the next segment, we will be joined by the Queen of Tennessee Sports Media, TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press, talking little Titans. We might work a little Predators in before it's all over with, but it'll be primarily Titans. So looking forward to visiting with both of them. We'll also be talking a little NFL, a little Major League Baseball, little college football besides MTSU, and we'll see what else comes up. And again, it is Top 5 Tuesday. We will be talking about, and this was a Wade motivated Top 5, and I'm sure it relates to something, but I'm not sure exactly what. Best college football catches. Was there a catch?
College or pro?
Oh, college or pro.
Garrett Wilson with the greatest maybe of all time Thursday. So we had to pay a little homage.
Best football catches. Okay, cool.
Mark was thinking, he was getting ready to tap into Larry Woody, and he was sending pictures of bass and, halibut and stuff. And I was like, whoa.
Best catches.
I said, that's a different kind of catch, Mark. So now we got it squared away.
Football catches, Mark.
We got him fixed up now.
You should see the one that got away, right?
Yeah. It was this big, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, best football catches, college or pro. Should be interesting.
Should be fun.
Now, let me ask you this. Does it have to be an offensive player?
No.
Okay, good.
There's a guy that's near and dear to my heart that will appear on that list that is not he played a little offense. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right.
But yes.
All right. Sounds good. But yeah, we will be talking some NFL. We'll be talking some college football. One thing in particular in college football that we'll be getting into pretty quickly. So it's going to be a fun show. Again, looking forward to it. Plenty to talk about. And let's go ahead and get started talking about it as we start with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Rundown time is upon us. Your Tuesday rundown. We kick off women's college basketball scores from last night. Trevecca with a 60-45 win versus Fisk. Bethel on top of Austin P. Shout out to our boy Chris Nelson, good friend of the show over there at Bethel, taking care of Austin P. Good win for the Lady Wildcats there. Tennessee State
loss for the Lady Governors, by the way.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess, with Bethel. So sorrows to Austin P. there. 72-62 was your final score. Tennessee State took care of Cumberland last night. You also mentioned an MTSU score for the Lady Raiders yesterday. You remember that off top?
70. That final was 79-58.
Good win for Coach Insel. Good win for the Lady Raiders, and they kick off their season in style. That was women's college basketball. I'm going to bring you up to speed on the men now. 80-64 was your score last night as Tennessee took care of Gardner-Webb. Belmont with a 93-70 victory versus Maryville College. Vanderbilt breaks the century mark, 102-63. They take care of Maryland Eastern Shore. Lipscomb wins it 77-72. Austin P defeating Union College 95-75. And in the season opener for TSU, Coach Penny Collins and the gang pick up a 96-66 win versus Fisk last night.
Oops. In NBA action last night, the Grizzlies fall in a tough one at Brooklyn, 106-104 the final there. On the ice, the Preds don't scratch, falling at Bridgestone Arena to the LA Kings 3-0. Overtime on Monday Night Football last night. Kansas City got away with a false start, maybe, or maybe somebody just anticipated the snap count really well. Not sure which.
Chiefs doing Chiefs things.
There
That's all
you
need to know.
go. Defeating Tampa Bay 30-24 in overtime. And today's schedule is a short one. 5:30 tonight. You can see it on ESPN Plus. Samford is at Tennessee to officially open the Kim Caldwell era. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Tonight, we will get our first projected 12-team college football playoff field. What are you looking for in the first field?
You know, I'm looking for a few of those teams we mentioned yesterday. Looking to see what the committee thinks of kind of Miami, kind of maybe where they sit. How much credit does Ohio State get for the win versus Penn State? And then, you know, from there, the fun part, I think the one thing that everybody's excited about, and Boise State is probably going to be your selection, at least right now. But I think one thing that everybody's kind of excited about is to see who that group of 5 team is and where they fit. BYU, you know, they're still undefeated, but they're currently projected to win the Big 12. So that would give them that automatic berth and automatic bye, obviously. So I think just a little bit of jockeying. I'm curious also to see, you know, where Indiana ends up because they will have a chance to play Ohio State in a couple of weeks. And, you know, if they finish, obviously, and then go on to win the Big Ten, they would get a bye. But otherwise, they're kind of up to the discretion of the committee. So a lot of room for conjecture. You know, tonight's a big night. Everybody's going to be tuned into their TVs to watch this thing, I think, more than anything. And so we will see kind of how things play out tonight.
I'm interested to see. You mentioned Miami. I'm interested to see whether the ACC gets a second team besides presumably Miami.
Yeah, Clemson with a bad loss
loss
this weekend. And so, I mean, if not Clemson, SMU is perhaps, you know, now primed to get in there and get some damage done. SMU, we're streaking toward SMU and Miami, which will be a fun game. But, yeah, the question will become SMU with already one loss. Where do they fit in that equation?
Also in the Big 12, again, Iowa State dropping that one to Texas Tech over the weekend really kind of hampered them. You were kind of thinking maybe Iowa State and BYU. Now maybe it's just BYU. I mean, does the Big 12 get a second team?
Sure doesn't feel like it unless, you know, it feels like whoever the champ, if BYU goes undefeated and then maybe loses to like an Iowa State in the title game, perhaps. But it kind of doesn't feel like it to me. And then, you know, still a little love for the Pac, whatever they're called. You know, Washington State is right there on the cusp as well. It'll be kind of interesting to see if they get any love from the committee tonight. They're one of the first 4 projected out at the moment.
I'm interested, as you mentioned, Indiana, how many the Big Ten gets. I mean, is it Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana, or is Indiana the odd team out given the perceived lack of strength of schedule?
Yeah, kind of like the Florida State debate last year, right? I mean, you got an undefeated team that's taking care of business, and this is why it'll be.
They've beaten everybody that you put in front of them. It's just that the people that you put in front of them aren't necessarily perceived to be that great.
Absolutely, and you know, and this is why, you know, we'll be tuned in tonight, you know, and a lot will be made and a lot will be discussed in the next week before these next batch of projections. But we'll get the chance to see what happens on the field, right? I mean, you still got LSU, who's currently in, quote unquote. I'm looking at On3's projections. They have them as one of the first 4 in. or first four out, excuse me, they'll have a chance to play their way in. Same with Ole Miss, same with Texas A&M, and to that point, we'll get a chance to see in a couple of weeks if Indiana, if they beat Ohio State, I think they're comfortably in probably at that point, no matter what would happen in the Big Ten championship game. So a lot, kind of to be set tonight and a lot to be debated over the next couple of weeks.
And, I think the biggest thing about tonight is it just kind of sets the tone for the next few weeks. It kind of gives you, a baseline, I guess, for lack of a better phrase.
Absolutely. And like you said, this is going to kind of set the pecking order. I mean, go back years and years ago, Mississippi State, the first ever number one ranked team in the college football playoff rankings. Guess what? They don't make the playoffs. So a lot will be debated over the next couple of weeks. But that's the beauty of college football. More often than not, it plays itself out in some shape, form, or fashion. And then this was also what we discussed, last year when we knew this was coming, right? Now we're not debating who's number 5.
Right.
We're debating, who potentially
who's 12 or 13.
Who's 12, who's 13, who's potentially getting left out.
And one of the things to keep in mind here is the rankings, the AP rankings won't necessarily be reflected in this.
Yeah, very, very subjective in the sense that it's up to the committee here. And they presumably, take a little bit of credence to the AP poll, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be a line for line linear projection this go around. And so should be fun. It should be exciting. Something else to tune into tonight on the television.
Yeah. Something else, an alternative, if you will. So,
yeah, because you ran the rundown. There ain't many other sporting options. So this will be your best bet tonight.
Hopefully it will be long because, there's other things that you may not necessarily want to pay attention to tonight. Any other top story options out there?
I mean, just real quickly putting a bow on this is I'm going to be curious, I don't know for sure how the group of 5 rankings, do they get their own ranking? And then that would be a fun debate, right? I mean, because Army and Boise State clearly look like the 2 best choices, but you still got Tulane kind of sneaking around. So I don't know how it's going to be presented tonight. I don't know if they just give the one bid and show it that one team and that's it. Or if there's like a separate little spinoff debate because the group of 5 has been a kind of a fun little race this year.
Yeah. And it's interesting as you read other articles kind of setting this up. Last year, like you said, when it was a 14 playoff, they gave you the rankings 25 up to 7, and then they gave you the top 6. Is it going to be the same way this time around? I don't know how that works because it's not going to be based on the ranking.
Right.
So
and will we get projections, because the thought of Tennessee going to Happy Valley in December is kind of what college football is potentially all about. And if the college football committee, I mean, you can base your own rankings, I guess, or your own projections based off what the rankings are. But the mythological matchups tonight will be fun. The internet will have a field day with all of this, kind of going through the numbers, breaking down the schedules, who can potentially move up, who stands to gain this week, who stands to gain next week. And then those matchups will be kind of fun with 4 games over the course of basically 24 hours in the first round in December.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Jerry Palm of CBS Sports, has his college football playoff rankings prediction. And he does not have a group of 5 team in the top 12, which, again, he's got Boise at 13. He's also got Indiana at 10. So, I mean, are you going to get rankings and then are you going to set the bracket based off of those rankings? It's a new situation.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be new to all of us to see how all of that falls out.
Yeah, I'm excited more than in years past because with 4 teams, all it takes is one stub of the toe and you're done at that point. And some of these teams, they are kind of hanging on by a thread. So they're in that same situation. But a few of these teams have a little breathing room. And so that's going to be, to me, kind of the fun going forward is if a team like Georgia, falls at Ole Miss this weekend. I mean, what happens to them? Do they slide dramatically? Does Ole Miss move up dramatically? I think the stage is set for a lot of fun over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Should be fun, should be interesting, and we will be keeping an eye on it. Let's take a break here from the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we'll be joined by TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press, talking Little Titans. Stay tuned. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back into Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're here in the Lee Company Studios here in Columbia, and we are anxiously awaiting the arrival of the Queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA M. Walker of the Associated Press. Talk a little Titans. The Titans are now 2-6 on the year, following their 20-17 overtime win on Sunday against the equally hapless New England Patriots. And as we've discussed with Indianapolis and their quarterback situation and the way things went this past weekend for them against Minnesota, you know, I don't know if a win is a good thing or a bad thing for this team at this point.
I mean, Yeah, it just kind of depends on what you're after, right? At the end of the day, we broke it down on the show. The players are obviously competitors, and they're gonna want to go out and win. The coaching staff, it's hard to get let go if you keep winning games, and so obviously they're thinking that. And if you're that only basically leaves the fans, and if you're a fan, your view could go a couple different ways. Some fans are kind of wired like the competitors, right? I mean, you want to win no matter what the cost is. But if you're playing some 3D chess, maybe you argue in favor of the other direction, but it's hard to feel bad about a win really at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think how realistic is tanking? I think that's kind of where the question lies. And with that, let's bring in TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, who joins us now. TERESA, talking about the Titans and the current situation that they're in at 2-6, following that win on Sunday against New England. Professionally speaking, is tanking a thing? Is it really a thing?
No. And I say this, remember, the coaches and the players are literally judged and have jobs next year based on how they do now. So some of these players, yes, some of these guys are here on 1-year deals. They may not be back here next year, but you know what? They're performing and trying out for somebody else. This is if my screen's getting shaken because my cat is using my laptop screen as a scratching post.
Roscoe.
Yeah, he hasn't adapted to the time change, but their jobs are on the line because they are literally trying to, Arden Key put it best a couple weeks ago that, he'd worked with somebody to tweak some things because he understands that he's playing for his job. And what has he done? He's been incredibly productive on the field. I mean, he had the key strip sack, that Jeffrey Simmons fell on that ball to help set up the go-ahead touchdown. Now, yes, the defense gave up that touchdown at the and here's the thing. This is where I'm very curious to see if this team makes a turn. 3 losses by a touchdown or less. They've had leads in games that they couldn't hold on to because they've struggled to score in the second half. They scored points in the second half. Now, granted, to get to 20, they needed overtime, but they got there for just the second time this season. And Brian Callahan talked about that yesterday, about the idea that, that he didn't sense that, oh no, here we go again kind of thought. That it was more of a, we got you. We're going to do this. And, now granted, it's an injured team. This is where we're starting to see the challenges of a banged up team that had the, week 5 bye, and now it's starting to take a toll. There, last week there was 9-10 guys not practicing and trying to nurse people through. Tony Pollard didn't practice at all last week, and yet he has 154 yards from scrimmage. So guys who are trying to continue in the NFL, because you want to play at least 4 seasons in the NFL. Why? So that you can get an NFL pension. Coaches want jobs next year, if not here, elsewhere. Now, you would think that, first-year coaching staff, you're in fairly good shape. But, this year, Colt Anderson's head has been the one that fans are calling for. Some of the penalties on the special teams, Callahan called them out yesterday that they were not penalties, should not have been flagged. But they also are struggling. They're giving up the most the most punt coverage return yards in the NFL. They're 31st in kickoff return yards allowed. So they've, and now part of this was the way the roster was built. They built it so that they'd have depth on offense, defense, but they need guys to cover. And Ryan Stonehouse, coming back from the season-ending injury, is struggling with the hang time that, the boomer rumors that were just so impressive. But guys, that's the thing. They have motivation. So they're not like fans. This is not fantasy football. They are not thinking, ooh, oh my God, that win dropped us from 2nd to 9th in the draft status. It is November 5th. Okay. There are still 9 games left for this team in this season. And I hate to tell you this, but that's going to change a lot between now and then. But don't worry. The next 4 or 5 games are against teams all with winning records. And the crazy thing is they went from having like a 2% chance of making the playoffs to, they vaulted up. So it's like, the Patriots now are at the very bottom of the AFC. They've got less than a 1% chance, which, it's between 0 and 1%, which is about as, they're close to elimination as you can get. But that's the thing, that's what they're playing for. As crazy as it might seem, it's how teams play in November and December. That's closing time in the NFL. How you play in these 2 months remember a couple years ago, Titans came back from Green Bay, sitting atop the AFC South, and everything looked good. They had 7 wins, just a couple losses. They seemed in control of their destiny, and they went Wile E. Coyote off a cliff. So that's sorry, but that's why nobody in that building is thinking tank. Only fans are, because they know that it is possible. I mean, going into the weekend, Dallas Cowboy fans thought they had a great chance to turn things around, or at least Jerry Jones did. Now Dak is possibly headed to injured reserve, which is going to keep him out a month, and they're making quixotic trades for receivers with very little production. So after trading away Amari Cooper. So I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but if there is a team that's tanking, maybe it's the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're
Definitely.
They're a mess of different proportions, and an unserious football team. Teresa, you made up you made a good point, and I'm glancing. I'm looking at Tankathon, and there are 9 teams with 2 wins, and I'm curious, in your mind, you really piqued my interest when you said getting better in November, getting better in December. What did you take away from Sunday, or is there something to take away from Sunday that says maybe of these 9 2-loss teams that the Titans could get on a little bit of a run? Maybe not making the playoffs, but could get on a run to finish the season strong.
Well, the injury to Lloyd Cushenberry at center, that is a thing that's going to hurt, because it looked like over these last 2 weeks, they've had their best production offense, for yards and things like that. Maybe not on the scoreboard, but they've been staying on the field. They've been putting drives together. They've been, throwing the ball, running the ball. Tony Pollard has had his 2 best games yet. But now we've got to see how they react. That's the problem. It looks like, Daniel Brunskill, if Dylan Radins is back at right guard, and he wasn't playing on Sunday because of a foot injury. If he's back, then Daniel Brunskill looks like he'll get a chance to be at center. So there's some movement going on the line, that just when they looked like they had found something, even as they continued the search for a right tackle, that they'd found something and found a way to stay on the field as an offense. The defense has been there. The only thing that the defense has been lacking is getting takeaways, and we saw them get 3 on Sunday, and Amani Hooker, got two interceptions, literally tripled them in that category. So, for a team that had 6 all of last season, they've now, they're halfway to that mark with 9 games left to go. So, they're leading the league in fewest yards allowed, fewest passing yards. They're second on third down conversion rate. They're doing things defensively that they needed to do. And we think they're getting closer to getting L'Jarius Sneed back. Still not sure about Chidobe Awuzie, but, and now they're, we're waiting for them to put Quandre Diggs. NFL.com reporting it's a Liz Frank injury, but considering the way he went straight to the medical tent and from the medical tent right onto a cart, it did not look good. So that's a big blow to that defense. But, the person who came in and replaced him, did a pretty good job holding that down, because, Amani Hooker is quietly become a big piece of that secondary, helping hold things down. And yes, here's Roscoe making an appearance, but can you tell he thinks it's time to eat? But that's the thing. And I want to see, Brian Callahan said he's closer to thinking that Will Levis is back, and he's missed 3 games. So if he was going to miss this week, they would have put him on IR. And, that would have freed up a spot. They could have brought Trevor Siemian on. And, so the fact that they didn't put him on IR kind of leads you to think that he should be back this week. He was limited each day last week in practice. So now can he go through a practice full? What has he learned watching from the sideline about the way this offense can operate? And can he get maybe some of his confidence back if that's been dinged by the struggles? Because guess what? He has not started and finished a game that they won this year. So, if his confidence has taken a beating, you can understand that. So watching Mason Rudolph operate, sometimes taking a step back, can help a young quarterback. And so him stepping back in, this team just needs to, you can see with Brian Callahan's offense that people are running open. They're there to be hit. And if the quarterback has enough time to find them and get the ball to them, this is an offense that should be more productive than it's been. And yet at this point, they're running 2 spots behind where they were last year. So, yeah, just again, I told you I was going to quit saying it can't get worse because apparently they keep digging.
TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And it really does feel like it's kind of a 2 steps forward, 1, 2, 3 steps back for this team. I mean, again, they were starting to, exhibit some continuity up front, and then Cushenberry gets hurt. Like you said, it's tough. Obviously, hope springs eternal in that locker room. But as you mentioned, their next how many games are against teams with winning records?
A lot. I mean, they go to the Chargers, they host the Minnesota Vikings, they've got a game against Houston. I mean, that's the thing. That's the kind of stretch that could easily beat a already battered team to the point that it's like, oh my God, let's just get this season over.
And how does a first-year coach and a first-year staff, prevent that?
Well, that's the thing. That's where you need the leadership inside the locker room to come together. So, yeah, this is the stretch. Think about this. At the Chargers, and they've won 3 or 4. Then they're home hosting Minnesota, at Houston, at Washington. And, oh, my God, Jaden Daniels seems to be putting together a resume for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then they finally get to host the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are, in their fighting class, you might say. So they still have 2 games against the Jaguars, and then they have to, and Cincinnati. But that's the thing. Things can turn in a hurry, good and bad. So it's a great question. How does Brian Callahan handle this? Now he went through the struggles that first season in Cincinnati with Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow, who had an injury and things like that. So he's had to work through some of this. But he's the head coach, and that's the challenge. I think we've been seeing him grow through these games as a first-time play caller and balancing some things. And it seems like maybe he's starting to get into that rhythm now of everything that's going on. But now you're looking, and you've got to fill that Cushenberry spot, and you've got to see, now you're moving pieces around, and it's going to be up to the players in that locker room to step up. Now, Daniel Brunskill, he's the player rep. He's been a key swing guy back and forth. The guy who's now going to take that role, Corey Levin, Chattanooga native or graduate, excuse me. But he's a guy who's been on and off this roster, very familiar, at least with the Titans. But this is a new system to him as well. And so there's a little bit of familiarity, but we've got to see them put those pieces together. There's Leroy Watson, the starter again this next Sunday. I mean, it's been a revolving door at right tackle, whether due to injury or just inability. But, that's an area that they've been improving, protecting the quarterback. And, Will Levis, if he is back, can he take advantage of that? Can whoever replaces Cushenberry step in and be that guy and make sure that, because strangely enough, they've done really well over the past month, at least going into Sunday, of protecting the quarterback. And Mason Rudolph, we saw him dirt some balls the other day when he was under pressure. and throw away some. I heard the boos at the end of the first half when he was throwing some. I think I tweeted out that one of the balls probably came closer to the front row than anyone in a Titans uniform. But, sometimes that when you're under pressure, it's easier to throw the ball away than to take a sack and give up the yards and the down. So I'm curious. I want to see what Will Levis has learned in the time that he's been off the field during games.
I'm curious, Teresa, with Cushenberry, being out, and you just mentioned a moment ago that Pollard is having such a great season, really a sneaky good season across the league. What does that do? What does his absence do for the run game? We get so fixated on the pass protection because it's been so bad, but I'm curious, what is Cushenberry being out? What does that do for the run game as far as the Titans in your mind?
Well, Wade, that's a great question because, that's the thing. Now, Brunskill was the right guard last year, blocking for some guy that I know Titan fans, it hurts every time you say his name these days, Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And Derrick Henry was a pretty good run, had pretty good performance last year. So you would think that Brunskill steps in, but, he's got to work with Skoronski and Radens and be the anchor there. Now, he's familiar with those guys from last year, but he wasn't, he was at right guard last year. He wasn't at center. So that is a little bit different, but they've been in the meeting room together. So we're going to have to see. The best thing for Tony Pollard in the run game might be the return of Tyjae Spears because, he's missed the last 3 games. They were hoping to get him back from the hamstring, but that ended up not happening. They're hoping that he gets back because there was one play last week, and Brian Callahan mentioned this yesterday, that, Tony Pollard had a really great run, but and was, needed a little bit of a breather, but, they didn't have, it was Julius Chestnut and him. So they, he got the run. It may have been Chestnut, it may have been Pollard, but it ended up being a negative play because he needed a breather. Which is kind of ironic. We give running backs a little bit of a break, and yet everyone was jumping on Anthony Richardson for tapping out. Different standard, I guess, for running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks. But, but that's the thing. Sometimes you do need a fresher guy in there to build on that momentum because, Pollard, he had his best game, first 100-yard rushing game since September last year when he was in a Dallas uniform. Absolutely his best game this season for this team. And I'm really curious to see, that's the thing. They, Tony Pollard's kind of the bell cow, but they do want this to be a 1A, 1B situation with Spears. And I think just the return of Spears can help this offensive line as it's going through these changes, help cover up some of those growing pains as they make a switch.
Teresa Walker joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Teresa, let's shift gears for just a second. Preds dropped a tough one, 3-0 against LA last night. Team still kind of finding its way, I guess, with all of the offseason acquisitions. Easy for me to say. Is that fair, or, are we starting to figure out more and more about where this team actually is?
Well, this is a team that has some age on it. And, that's the thing. You start to worry with the start. How much of this is guys, Father Time tapping them on the shoulder saying, your time's about up. But then seeing Steven Stamkos hit some posts, it makes me think that maybe it's still working on the chemistry. And the thing that has traditionally been a big key for this franchise has been the CMA trip. And that's coming. They've got a couple of games coming up here at home. They hit the road today for 2 road games, then they'll be back. And then they're gone for like 5 games out west during the CMA awards show. So they got to clear the building and let them have the award show. And that, hey, getting away from family, friends, just themselves, this has been many, many times a chance for them to kind of come together and figure some things out while they're away from normal life and on the road. We'll see if that helps them. But, they're also needing some of these younger guys to step up. They're still trying to figure out who is their number 2 center. And that's a thing that I think is, more surprising because, they woke up July 1st thinking it was Christmas morning, and yet it feels almost like it's the day after Christmas and somebody broke the toy before they had a chance to play with it. And they're at the bottom of the West looking up, and not a position that anybody thought that this team would be with the talent that they brought in. I mean, when they started training camp, it's like, oh, we were all texting. Everybody was happy. It's like, it was wonderful. Stamkos and then Marchessault and then Shea. And it's like, woohoo. But we haven't seen that turn out on the ice. And, they're starting first periods, well, actually they're not. How many first periods have they fallen behind and given up the first goal in? I mean, it's almost ridiculous at this point. And the strange thing is Saros, you can't blame UC Saros anymore. He was the second star of the week a week ago. So, the guy who has traditionally started slow, he's kicked into gear, and makes me wonder how much worse would this team be if he hadn't found his faster gear quicker than the rest of the team. So, I'm just going to say this. Hopefully they start working through some things. Andrew Burnett talked about frustration last night. Well, they better find a way to channel it the right way, or this could get bad in a hurry. And, I wrote a story about this being Barry Trotz's big gamble. And he kind of pushed chips to the middle of the table, making it clear he was chasing a cup. They had the 8th best odds at winning a cup to start the season. Right now, I'm not going to look at them because I don't think they'd be pretty.
Yeah, like you said, Teresa. Yeah, Teresa, 9 points. So maybe some good value, I guess, if you're looking for a sneaky bet. But you make a great point. And I'm also curious, that road swing that you brought up, that is a treacherous, just being away. I do appreciate the restorative value of travel a little bit, but you're looking at Colorado, Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton all mixed in there. That is a healthy road trip, to say the least. Is it fair to say, or is it too early to say, that could be a pivotal point for what shapes the rest of the season in your mind? Or are we still so young that they still got a lot more to potentially get better at?
Wade, it is still a long, long season. Let's not forget, 82 games. I'm going to throw back to, and now I grant this is more the exception than the rule, but the St. Louis Blues were last at the end of a calendar year and flipped the page to a new year and suddenly found the afterburners and went to win the cup. So, you can't, but you at a certain point, you got to start showing you can win games with this lineup, that you've got the people and how to line them up and put them together and go out there, and they need to start producing. That season opener was like, well, Forsberg picked up where he left off. Where's the rest of them? So, these guys need to, and some of it is, you can watch somebody playing with somebody. There is some timing that has to come into this situation. And, so hopefully that chemistry starts being built. But if you're doing a drop pass, you've got to have the confidence that there's somebody that you're dropping it to that can take it and go. And, you've got to have that, that je ne sais quoi, that person is going to have your back when you're racing down the ice and expecting a pass to hit your stick. And it's just that simple sometimes. So, I'll just say this, sometimes old dogs don't learn new tricks. So can some of these veterans get on board with each other? I mean, this is the problem. Sports and pro sports are played in real life. It's not fantasy. It's, you folks at home who are winning GM championships and such, well, it's great, but you're putting people together on paper. These people are in the same locker room and hitting the ice together. That's the challenge for the Predators right now.
12 games down. Yeah. 9 points. I kind of like what you said. It seems like, don't press the panic button just yet, because it feels like just a few little hiccups here, hiccups there have kind of got them to where they're at. And it also, if you flip that around, a few hiccups here, a few hiccups there that are now removed, and this is the team, the core of the team that we saw go on that epic point streak last year. So I'm with you in the sense that things seem like they could turn around in a quick fashion. It doesn't seem to be a systemic problem at this point for them.
Exactly. And the key is get in the playoffs. I
Right,
mean,
also.
that's the end goal. Winning the Central Division, home ice advantage does not matter anymore, it doesn't seem. I mean, just look at the last few postseasons. What matters is get in, have a favorable matchup, and what Barry Trotz did was try to supplement the top line scoring. Well, Steven Stamkos on that second line right now is looking like, we know he can score. So it's just a matter of getting some of that chemistry together and then start climbing the standings, because yes, you've got some teams in front of you. You've got to start making a move at some point. But first you got to show that, these guys know how to play with each other. Work on that. And yes, it is November 5th. There is still plenty of time left to work out and fix some things. But yeah, the panic button is over there. I'm not ready to push it just yet.
It's in the room, but we're not.
We know where it is.
Yeah, we're not opening the box just yet. I like that. Calming effect of Teresa here today. Much needed at that point.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people needed to hear that. Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Teresa, we appreciate you and Roscoe stopping by, and we'll catch up with you.
Well, thanks, because he jumped up. He's like, he is tired of waiting to be fed. Well, and I thought he was about to do that Chris Collinsworth slide in here a second ago. So I think I better feed him. He's giving me that look.
Go feed him. Go feed him. We'll talk to you. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
You, Teresa.
When we continue on Main Street Sports today, after this break, we will continue talking a little NFL. There's some other stuff going on besides the Titans. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yeah, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. As we mentioned, NFL talk continues here from the Lee Company studio. Kansas City doing Kansas City things. Again, defeating Tampa Bay 30-24 in overtime last night. And a lot of folks kind of looking at the Tennessee Titans a bit askew last night, as we've talked on this show about how Kansas City just seems to get excuse me, richer. But it's not like the Tennessee Titans are the only team that has helped the Kansas City Chiefs stay good. And Buffalo traded them that pick back in April that resulted in Xavier Worthy, right? It wasn't them. So trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs, and then DeAndre Hopkins scoring twice last night, it's not the Titans' fault, is it?
Well, I mean, in the sense that literally Hopkins ends up there, yes, but by and large, no. The Chiefs did the bit of business, and the good news, everybody can rest easy. We got, 8 minutes till the deadline? The good news is the Chiefs are done making moves, it looks like.
You would like to think.
By all accounts. Uche had a decent game last night for him on defense. Hopkins obviously got the big, Hopkins did what he had to do. But the fact of the matter is the Chiefs are just wizards right now. And Mahomes was absolutely deep in his bag. He ends up 11 of 13 passing on third down last night. Anytime there was a third down, the Bucs could not get off the field. All 4 of their touchdowns come on third down last night. So, yeah, Hopkins.
That's crushing for a defense.
Absolutely. And then, then the Chiefs on the drive late in the fourth quarter to go ahead before the Bucs tie it, they convert on fourth down even. I mean, yeah, it's great that the Chiefs have Hopkins, but we were seeing them kind of do this to an extent even without him. So, it was cool, though. Hopkins did have the Remember the Titans celebration last night. So, I mean, a little tip of the cap. By all accounts, he still loves Nashville and would not be surprised, him, end up back here. But it was, kind of frustrating in that sense last night.
The rest of the NFL was upset with the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans fans were upset with DeAndre Hopkins for this.
I mean, he nailed it pretty much perfectly.
Only DeAndre Hopkins knows if it was a shot or not at the Titans. If it was a shot, I don't know that it should be, because the trade might get him a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, Hopkins strikes me, by all accounts, as a consummate professional. And like I said, he loved his tenure in Nashville. He embraced the community. He was very, very active in the community in his short stint here. And would not be shocked to see him, end up back in Nashville in some capacity when it's all said and done. But for last night, man, that really stung seeing that. I would venture to say not necessarily a shot, but at the end of the day, he's got to embrace his new team. And, seems like he's on the right page. He had a big game last night, obviously, with the 2 touchdowns.
8 catches.
8 catches for him, 14 catches for Kelsey. I mean, the Chiefs last night looked like a little bit more of the throwback Chiefs, where their offense was getting it done, and the defense kind of had a little bit of a small letdown last night. So that should be somewhat alarming. They continue to find ways to win games. And most importantly, they find ways to continue to win the coin toss in overtime. Because I'm sure you saw Baker's reaction. I mean, that summed it up best. As soon as the coin toss was wrong, Baker hangs his head and he says, well, that's it. We're done. And that's exactly how it played out.
Sure enough.
They burned off, 6.5 minutes. So even if the Bucs got the ball back, they would have to drive, 70, 80 yards to kick a field goal to potentially win the game if they had not scored. The Chiefs are just living good right now, and things continue to get better.
Clearly they are living good, because they survived a scare last night. Patrick Mahomes had to be helped off the field.
Man.
And he looked like they shoot horses, don't they? I mean, that's what it kind of looked like a little
Mhm.
bit. And then the next offensive possession, he's right back in there again.
Yeah, he was, you're holding your breath. And the Chiefs they would fall off, obviously, a healthy amount if Mahomes is out. Certainly with their record, they'd be in pretty good shape as far as getting in the playoffs. But he does so many of those little things that, yeah, he's irreplaceable. And so the fact that he goes out and everybody is like, oh, my goodness. And then when he comes back in, obviously, he doesn't even miss a beat. There was some shooting going on. It wasn't a gun, though. I don't know what they were shot Mahomes up with. Maybe some of the old Aaron Rodgers, work drugs type situation, because he looked like he didn't miss a beat when a moment before it looked like he was on death's door. That was a scary situation for the Chiefs.
Couple of trade deadline moves, one of which has us scratching our head as we talked about it in the break. Dallas traded for a receiver. Who's going to throw it to him? Who knows? But
Cooper Rush, baby.
Well, Trey Lance is over there too, I
Man,
guess.
isn't that crazy, right?
Carolina Panthers receiver Jonathan Mingo is now a Dallas Cowboy. In 9 games in Carolina, 12 catches for 121 yards. Dallas sent a 4th-round pick in next year's draft to Carolina for Mingo and a 7th-rounder in next year's draft. Now, again, Dak Prescott looking like he's headed to IR, as Teresa mentioned, with a hamstring injury. Dallas is 3-5.
And if the
self-awareness is, well, shockingly enough, a little lacking in Dallas, it feels like.
Yeah, and I mean, think about this. If the Giants weren't so bad, they would be in last place in that division. They're a game up on the Giants. If they were, a few plays here or there, they would be in last place. So I'm not really sure what the move is. Like I've said it for a couple of weeks now. They're basically an unserious franchise at this moment. They're off season. They kind of treated it as a joke, and they went and they just inked the 2 big guys for sure in Lamb and Prescott. And yeah, that's key, but there's a whole lot more that goes into roster construction than that. And so they just did not treat the offseason probably like they should have. And now that's coming back to bite them. On one hand, you're thinking they probably realistically should sell. And, they would never, ever do this. They would never in a million years trade Micah Parsons, but that is a massive chip that you could have dangled out there to somebody kind of like Detroit for a massive haul, because I don't necessarily see it getting that much better next year the way their roster is currently constructed.
Yeah. Speaking of Detroit, and speaking of teams getting richer, I mean, they lose Aiden Hutchinson for the year with a broken leg. They get Zadarius Smith from Cleveland, sending a 2025 5th-round pick to Cleveland. Detroit gets Smith and a 7th-round pick in 26. Kind of feels like the Lions kind of made away with this bit of business here.
Yeah, the Lions, Hutchinson, man, he was on pace to lead the league in sacks. And I don't know that Zadarius Smith is obviously going to completely fill that void. But yeah, he is the one piece. We've joked about it, obviously, with the Titans and especially the Chiefs. But if you're all the other teams, at what point do you not say, no, you're already good enough? We're not helping you. We're not helping you.
That's it.
Yeah, you can give us all the picks you want, but at some point, no, we're done dealing with you guys.
I mean, as a Braves fan, I kind of recognize that look. The rest of the league is like, why are you dealing with them?
Yeah, and the fact, that they had one clear need and you perfectly filled that need.
And that was the one shortcoming that it feels like Detroit had at this point, was the loss of Hutchinson. And now you help them address that? What's up, Cleveland? But it kind of takes the Titans out of the eye, I guess.
Yeah, they made all their moves early, and deadline literally just closing. It looks like the Titans are basically done. A couple weeks ago, we thought, okay, well, these guys are on the move. Hopkins, Jones. You're thinking, okay, who else is next? Nobody else really moves. Titans kind of stand pat, but yeah, the damage perception-wise was kind of done until some of these other teams have come along to kind of bail them out a little bit.
Meanwhile, Washington picked up New Orleans cornerback Marshawn Lattimore earlier today. So, I mean, the Saints aren't going anywhere. They just got rid of their coach. So why not get something for a 4-time Pro Bowler?
Yeah, some interesting moves. You know, Lattimore on the move. The Ravens were right there in the mix for him. Instead, they make a different move. And then the Rams, kind of like the Ravens, right, with the Lions and the Chiefs. Everybody knows the Ravens are good, and everybody knows they need secondary help. Is really one of their only shortcomings. And the Rams send Tre'Davious White over to him. And so the Ravens get a little richer. I think what this is going to lead to, we've talked about, you know, the tankathon and so many teams, what was it, 9 teams have just 2 wins. I think that gap's going to continue. I don't think we're in for a really competitive season by the end of the year in terms of your standings. But I think the teams at the top, I think the playoffs are going to be a lot of fun this year because the teams that needed to fill holes near the top of the standings have done that. Yeah,
absolutely. Our number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday is in the books. We will be coming back to the Lee Company studio for our number 2 with the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. Don't forget, in our final segment, Wade and I will be giving you our top football catches, not top football coaches, not top fish catches, Mark. So keep the bass.
Chip can fill both of those too, I'm pretty sure, as well.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. Yeah, we will be visiting with Chip when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this. Stay tuned.
Nashville's Nutcracker returns to TPAC this December, presented by Nashville Ballet. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets at NashvilleBallet.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back for hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are in the Lee Company studios here in Columbia and liking it. Good stuff. Check out the background.
Back in the lab. You know, we were remote yesterday, but there's no place like home. So we're back at it here in Muletown today.
It is significantly quieter here than it was at times yesterday at the Murphy Center, where the number has varied between 2,500 and 7,000 Rutherford County School 4th and 5th graders that were on hand for the Blue Raiders 97-51 win over Oglethorpe to open the season. Chip, how many kids?
About 5,800. The total, 5,800 4th and 5th graders, 93 school buses is what it took to bring them all in, and the total attendance yesterday was about just over 7,500. And a big thanks goes out to former Blue Raider basketball star and one of the cat killers, Chris Harris, who was part of that team that beat Kentucky in 1982. Mm-hmm. He's the athletic director for Rutherford County Schools now. Mm-hmm. And he is kind of the point person for the county school system, working with our athletic marketing team, and they pull off, you know, the logistics. Because I mean, you didn't, when those kids came in, you guys were there yesterday. They know exactly where they're going. They know exactly where their seats are. There's not a big bunch of hullabaloo of, you know, you're in my seats and, you know, that kind of thing. It's very, very organized. And fortunately, we have a very similar relationship with the Murfreesboro City School system. And the women will have an Education Day game. And I think it's December 4th. It's right in that, it's about a month from yesterday, and so they'll have their big day coming up, and that's been going on for about 12 years. But man, it is so cool to start the year that way with that type of energy in the building. And you know, I think the men's team certainly responded. You know, everybody, you know, whether you were on the floor or in the stands, everybody had a smile on their face yesterday.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of make jokes about the noise and that kind of thing. And I think the first time that Middle hit a 3 early in the game, and that place just exploded. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, this is shades of old time MTSU basketball.
It was the loudest I've heard since Giles County hit a buzzer beater to win the state championship back in 2003. Now that took the whole city of Pulaski being there for that one, Chip.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, the other thing too is, and y'all were there for this, that you know, sometimes we talk about these kids and that, you know, hey, you know, they don't pay attention or whatever, but they knew every word to every song that was played over the PA. They were singing along as a group to every piece of music, especially all the Taylor Swift stuff. But they were having just a huge time, and so it was just a big day. And then you know, plus, as you mentioned, they knew exactly who they were cheering for, because when the Blue Raiders hit that first 3, the lid just about came off the place. And you know, and to see the smiles on the guys' faces. And after the game, I had Esam Mustafa on the radio, and when he left my post and went across the floor, there were still probably 1,500 kids there that were working on getting their buses to go back to their schools. But they all started cheering him for just walking across the floor, and he got the biggest grin on his face. So, all those players, they're still all kids at heart. But the thing that it was a great event, but at the end of the day, you want to talk about, okay, how did the basketball team look? And I think we found out one thing: Middle is very, very deep this year.
Yeah, we did find that out. Middle is very, very deep, like you said. Played a lot of folks early.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody got a chance to get tired for sure, but it was fun. It was fun to see Mustafa, like you said, in his Blue Raider debut, coming out with a double-double. Also, Torrey
Austin. Yeah.
Man, I mean, he was kind of indescribable. It felt like one of those two guys, it felt like they got every rebound.
I'll tell you who Torrey Austin reminded me of, and this will, for folks of a certain age, will remind me. He has a little Quincy Vance type ups to him, and he's and here's a guy. There's a lot of pent up energy with him because he redshirted a year ago. He really understands what his role is, and I think because of the depth, everybody can go 100% all the time. Last year, Justin Porter was having to play 35, 37 minutes a night. Yesterday, he still had the most minutes on the floor, but it was 26 minutes. So, and you still don't have Jalen Counter back at 100%, and Alec Oglesby hasn't even played yet. So,
right.
That's just going to add even more to the depth. But, I think there's a lot of buzz about this ball club now that people have seen them in person.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, and they took care of business yesterday in dramatic fashion, which gave the kids even more reason to cheer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people say, oh well, they played Oglethorpe. Well, and you look at the schedule of games across the country yesterday. There were a lot of haves against have-nots, and a lot of final scores that were a whole lot to not very much. But the thing that I thought that Middle did is they came out and played like you would want them to play against a lesser opponent. And Oglethorpe is going to be really good in their league and in their division, and they're still a well-coached group that gave Middle some defensive challenges at times, but Middle used their size, their athletic ability to take advantage and jump out to an early lead. They hit them hard early, and scored 50 in the first half, and were able to go all the way to the end of the bench, and even the walk-ons playing the final 2 or 3 minutes of the ball game. But Nick McDevitt, pretty happy. They rebounded very well, got a lot of assists, not many turnovers, and that's a combination you'd like to have going for a long time this season against a lot of the folks that are on your schedule.
Absolutely. Be interesting to see how well they take that on the road when they go out to Abilene Christian this weekend, but before coming back home to take on the Purple Aces of Evansville and Murray State.
Yeah. And then throw in some games like Belmont, UAB, so it does it does get tougher as you move through that, but it should be a good schedule that'll prepare them well for Conference USA.
Absolutely. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. The men took care of business at home yesterday. The Lady Raiders took care of business at Northern Kentucky last night with a 79-58 victory. Obviously, you weren't on hand for it, but I imagine you've had an opportunity to check in with some folks at work.
Just a little bit, because that was going on right at the same time as Derek Mason's coaches show last night, and we had it on one of the TVs there at the Boulevard. But here's a little on a day of breaking news. Tamia Scott was really good. There's your breaking news for the day. Tamia Scott led them in scoring, and she is just such a versatile player. Middle was obviously very good defensively in that game. An 80-point night is about what you would expect out of them on a nightly basis. That's what, when they're clicking, that's a good night offensively for Middle. Not a great night. I mean, they can get to the 90s pretty easily when they shoot the ball, but they basically led that game wire to wire last night on the road, got off to a great start. And you do that with defense and rebounding, which when you can take that on the road with you, you can use that to get some easy baskets. They use that and just came out really well. Now they turn around, come back home, and move up in class a little bit as well. And they've got Grand Canyon coming in here on Friday night, and Grand Canyon is one of just a handful of teams that beat Middle a year ago, but that game was out in Phoenix. And both the women's game against Grand Canyon and the men's game against Abilene Christian is part of the Conference USA WAC. They don't like to call it challenge, but I'll call it the WAC Conference USA Challenge. The league office likes to call it a scheduling initiative, but still, it's the two teams, the two conferences getting together, and I think the women have they've got Grand Canyon and Cal Baptist. The men have Abilene Christian on the road, and they've got Cal Baptist at home. Those are supposed to be able to help everybody get some decent non-conference games, and I think that is an early one for the ladies that Coach Insel and his staff have really pointed to. Is I think they'd like to extract a little bit of the R word, maybe get a little revenge and get a good home win on Friday night.
Absolutely. You mentioned Tamia Scott, 24.6 boards. Anastasia Boldrava, a rebound short of a double-double, 15 points, 9 boards. Courtney Blakely with 15. In her return, Alina Arike with 12 points. Jalen struggled a little bit. 2 points on 1 of 10 shooting, 0 of 8 from behind the arc. Well, I wonder when the last time was she went 0 from behind the arc.
Probably when she was in junior high in Lafayette. I don't know, but she'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any real worries about her. But last night might not have been her night, but that's why again you build depth and you bring in Enrique who has some size and the ability to hit that outside shot as well, and again Tamia Scott, who has started out her year playing like a potential Conference USA Player of the Year.
Yeah, I saw the 24 points last night, and I thought she's getting ready to have a breakout season. But I don't even know if that's the way you describe it. I mean, she's certainly not sneaking up on anybody from the second half that she had last year.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the case there is, if she can continue, if she can do that with a bullseye on her back, then she'll certainly deserve everything that comes her way as far as individual honors. But I think this group takes a look at what they have around them as far as weapons offensively and what they can do defensively, and realize that they have a unique opportunity to do something really special. And I think one of the questions that I think everybody wants to know is, can Courtney Blakely, replace Savannah from a year ago, not only in running the ball club, but also with her scoring punch? And is Jalen Gregory going to be the person who takes over Courtney Whitson's leadership role, that kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to watch them develop, because they certainly do have a lot of raw ability, and they have refined it a good bit already. But that's only going to get better as they get battle tested and hardened in what is also a challenging non-conference schedule that takes them on the road from coast to coast between now and the beginning of the conference race.
Chip, real quick, you mentioned that scheduling initiative between the two conferences. Talking a little bit with Coach McDevitt before he joined us yesterday, but I am curious, how much of that is that matchup based? Is there an element of travel that's kind of factored in? Or I'm curious kind of how they arrive at that with those two leagues.
I think what they do is they kind of look at where you finished in your league a year ago in the regular season and try to work matchups. Let's say you finished third in your league. Well, you may play the 3 and 4 team from the other league, and and vice versa. That kind of thing, because what they're looking for is matchups that are going to help each other in the net, things like that. So your best teams will play your best teams, because it sounds kind of crazy in that part of scheduling in college basketball now, it's actually less about getting really good wins. It's more about eliminating bad losses, and that's why you'll see. And you want to get Coach McDevitt going on something he can talk for about 2 hours on. Get him to start talking about scheduling and how Power Fives are scheduling. When they're scheduling teams they're scheduling quad 1 games and quad 4 games. They're not scheduling teams who are quad 2 and 3, which that really makes for a challenge for teams that are Conference USA, Sun Belt, Mid American, a lot of the kind of the mid-major group of 5 kind of basketball leagues, because they are the typical schools that are going to make up those quad 2 and 3s. In layman's terms, quad 2 and 3 teams are good enough to beat you. Quad 4 teams are not good enough to beat you on a bad night. And if you lose to a quad 1 team, it's not going to hurt you. So there's somewhat of a method to the scheduling madness, and that's why now mid-major leagues are having to try to get together and schedule amongst themselves to where they can help boost each other's own net rankings and not depth charge the net rankings of each other in a way that they don't have to.
Makes sense. Seems like a good initiative to at least, like you said, get some competitive element amongst 2 pretty competitive leagues.
Yeah, and personally, I'd love to see more with the Sun Belt, but again, as I've mentioned before, there's the powers that be on both of those leagues would have to get over themselves a little bit to make that happen.
Yeah. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, I don't know how we've gone this long without talking about Middle Tennessee State 20, Texas El Paso 13.
Really good road. Good road win. Any road win is good in any league against a conference opponent. It was on a day where Nick Vattiato may not have been at his best. You were without Holden Willis, who is arguably one of your top 3 or 4 offensive weapons. He was literally a day away from getting out of the concussion protocol. So he'll be back this week against Liberty on Saturday. But the thing I talked to Derek about in particular, when you boil down the 60 minutes of that football game and think about, okay, what are some signs that you're looking for as a coach that your team is maturing, doing some of the things that you want to see that a growing and maturing team is doing. And it came down basically to the last 7 minutes of the game. What did they do? They put together in a tie game. Middle gets the ball with just under 7 minutes to play, puts together a 5-minute drive that ends up scoring a touchdown on a quarterback sneak. Then your defense playing prevent, which everybody has their own opinion about prevent, but it ends up making a play on the goal line, knocking a potential game time pass away. So, those two big things. Your offense puts together a game-winning drive, and your defense turns away a potential game-time drive. And I think those are kind of microcosms of things you're looking for to give yourself a little momentum with a Liberty team coming in that is experiencing something they have not experienced in a while, and that's back-to-back losses. And they lost on the road at Kennesaw, and then in a shocking loss, and then lost at home to a really good, as we well know, Jacksonville State team last week.
Yeah, Middle's confidence, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, has to be at a pretty good place, though, when you consider, again, like you said, Willis didn't play in this ball game, and for them to be able to win a ball game without him, I think is certainly a step in the right direction.
Well, it was, that next up mentality kind of kicked in. Miles Butler, who has, been a guy who's been out there and caught a few balls here and there, but he really stepped up. Had a 61-yard touchdown reception where he had to step through a tackle about 20 yards into that, and ended up in the end zone, and still had a 101-yard receiving day. It was also a day where you not only did not have Holden Willis, but you didn't have the best day ever from Omari Kelly. Omari still had 4 catches, but he was targeted 8 times. Nick had a couple of overthrows, and then you had another ball or two where he and Nick were kind of not on the same page as far as pass and route. And so he made 4 catches, but he could have had 7 or 8 that day had things, gone right. So you did overcome, you kind of got, had to get out of your own way a little bit, and they found a way to do that and get a win. And, you can look at, UTEP has had some struggles winning football games as well, but anytime you go on the road and you win a game, you have to feel good about that. And coming home for a noon game on Saturday and get to play early, it's the salute to veterans, 42nd year doing that at MTSU, and you've got a Liberty team that you played pretty well against a year ago, had a fourth quarter lead and saw it get away, and Liberty got a 7-point win up in Lynchburg last year. And but they still got Caden Salter, who stirs the drink for the Flames, but they're a good football team, and they're going to come in obviously a little frustrated because they're in a position right now where they're going to need some help winning the league.
Yeah, but Middle is in a position to do some good things too. As we spoke with Chris Massaro yesterday, the Blue Raiders, with this win out at Texas El Paso on Saturday, are now 3-6. And whether anybody considered it at the start of the season or not, I'm not sure. But bowl eligibility is a thing for this team. Now you got to win out against Liberty, New Mexico State, and Florida International. But it's there.
It's there. 2 of the 3 are at home. And FIU is a place where you've had some road success, but you're right. It is a possibility, and it's still out there. And and for Derek Mason and his staff, that's a carrot that that you still put out there because hey, you want to protect the home turf. And if you can win this one, find a way. All you got to do, just find a way against Liberty, and you build that momentum, you build that confidence even more in a game for the next one, which would be New Mexico State. That would be a game you'd be favored in. And then,
Diego
who knows?
ain't walking through that door.
Yeah, he ain't there no more.
That's right. Yeah, Diego Pavia is not there, and so and there's stranger things have happened, and this team is one win away from equaling what they did a year ago, and we talked back in July and August about how is this team going to handle the gauntlet it was going to have to face in the month of September, and I think when that Memphis game was over with, it was probably a lot of people thought they were probably going to be 1-4 after that, and that's exactly where they were. Didn't play well at Louisiana Tech. Didn't play well at Jacksonville State. But that's part of a growing football team. I'll give you your stat of the day here. Middle has 13 true freshmen that are averaging 15 plus snaps a game this year. So that will kind of, when we talk about growing pains, you literally have guys who last year were getting ready for high school playoffs this week, and now they're getting ready to play a team that was in the Fiesta Bowl last year.
Chip, when you say that, it reminds me of one of our favorite people, James Donnelly. They call him Boots. If he'll snap at you when he's a puppy, he'll bite you when he's a dog, right? I mean,
that's right.
You got 13 puppies out there getting 15 snaps, and the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores.
That's right. And you look at a guy, I mean, there was a guy last week, one of those who, you look at the kid, he's about 6'3", 290 defensive lineman. And to use one of James Francis's phrases, he's pretty. And he played pretty the other day, and knocked a pass or two down, had a career high in tackles. So, the puppies are starting to snap at you a little bit. So, it's part of that growing process. And I know we're in a microwave society and people want it right now, but I think the building for the future and getting these young guys reps now is going to pay off. So
sure feels like it.
There you go. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. You can find him on Twitter at ChooseChip. And if you're in the market for an abode, he can take care of you there too. So, Chip, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, if not before. And
that's right. It was good. It was good seeing y'all both yesterday. A lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
We hope to get back. So look for us.
All right. See you, man.
We'll talk to you.
Bye.
When we continue here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll jump into the grab bag, checking on a little Major League Baseball action, a little college football action, and we head toward Top 5 Tuesday in our final segment as Wade and I give you our top football catches. So stay tuned after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Once baseball season got over with, I thought we had kind of reached the end of the Atlanta Braves injury woes. Obviously, I was wrong. Setup man Joe Jimenez underwent knee surgery I guess yesterday. Surgery to repair cartilage damage in his left knee. That's his land leg for the right-hander. Is expected to be sidelined for 8 to 12 months. 8 to 12 months. 12 months is November of 2025. 8 months is what? July?
Yeah.
So he's going to miss a large portion of, if not all of, the 2025 season after posting a 2.62 earned run average in 69 appearances, 82 strikeouts in 68 2/3 innings. No earned runs allowed in 15 of his last 16 appearances, with 26 strikeouts and 6 walks in 15 2/3 innings of those final 16 appearances. Apparently, it was something that happened or something that had been bothering him over the course of the season, and finally had it checked on. So the surgery actually took place a week ago today, October 29th, and he's out. So when a lot of Braves folks were wondering, or Braves followers were wondering, if the moves to send Jorge Soler to the Angels and the move to decline Travis d'Arnaud's $8 million option, where that money was going. Well, it might be going to the bullpen at this point.
Yeah.
So AJ Minter had hip surgery late in the year. May be back, may not. He's a free agent from the left side. In addition to declining d'Arnaud's option, they also declined Luke Jackson's option yesterday, $7 million option there, which most folks that followed the Braves this year would applaud that one. But, it's obviously going to be a intriguing offseason for Atlanta, because you thought that maybe adding a starter if Max Fried isn't coming back, trying to figure out what the situation is with Charlie Morton, and then probably addressing shortstop and left field in one order or the other were kind of your priorities there.
Yeah.
Now you lose your 8th inning ace, you feel like, and to do the things that the Braves feel like they are capable of doing, you got to address that as well.
Yeah, tough break in the sense that, it's one of those situations, right? You're going to get it evaluated, and it sounds like this was the worst case scenario, and it sounds like maybe it wasn't the situation or scenario that you didn't envision. So yeah, that kind of makes you recalibrate a little bit differently, in terms of what your off-season moves potentially look like. Does that slide up, and if so, how high up? I guess on your hierarchy of needs there.
Right. We talked about the Oakland Athletics no longer being the Oakland Athletics, but apparently they will not be the Sacramento Athletics either. They're just the Athletics. On yesterday, they dropped Oakland from the name and made an announcement on brand transition guidelines.
Oh, yeah, love these.
When referring to the team name, use only Athletics. You may use A's on second reference.
Okay.
ATH is the approved designation for the Athletics, not OAK for Oakland. Certainly not SAC for Sacramento.
Yep. They made that clear.
The city the A's play in is West Sacramento. So I guess their dateline for their Associated Press articles and that kind of thing will be West Sacramento, not Sacramento.
All right.
The A's home ballpark is called Sutter Health Park. It goes on to give the A's new ballpark's address. The club's new primary logo is the green A's. The club's primary word mark will remain unchanged from the green Athletics script. So I don't know why you wouldn't be Sacramento. That's where you're going to be at least for 2025 and likely from 2025 through 2027 before you go to Vegas in 2028, assuming that you go to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, every bit of this entire process has been kind of more and more embarrassing than the last bit. And now you've got the guidelines in place, only refer to us in this capacity. And here's our cheat sheet here. So just unusual. But I guess at this point, not shocking, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It is unusual, but it's not a surprise. This team's ownership has kind of gone out of its way to make things.
Yeah, every step of the way has been more convoluted than the last. And
again, I
feel like we're probably not. This is probably not done with
no.
theatrics here.
When you are planning to move to a city where that city's officials have said maybe they should rethink this, that has to be a little concerning. So, I mean, Sacramento might have two teams for a while. This is bizarre. And here's my thing. And obviously they've not been very competitive. They were better than the White Sox, but that's not saying a whole lot. But how do you attract free agents in this situation? I mean, you're going to be sharing a AAA ballpark with a AAA team playing on artificial turf. You're going to be playing, I think, 20-day games in West Sacramento, California.
You get it correct.
Where it's going to be a little warm.
Yeah. And they don't have the money to get Soto, who basically said he's open to the highest bidder. So
yeah, he's willing to listen to every team except the Athletics.
Yeah, they don't have enough scratch to come up with him, so that kicks him out of the race. So yeah, I 100% wonder the same things, right? I mean, it's how do you sell that to a potential free agent? Because even if you sign a long-term deal, I mean, that's a tough sell. Hey, and then if you enjoy that community, say you sign a free agent and they want to grow roots there. Well, don't plan on staying too long because we're only going to be here temporarily. Everything about this is kind of icky, is kind of weird, and I continue to not really be surprised by any of it because it gets more and more bizarre.
Without question. The Baseball Hall of Fame has announced its classic era committee candidates that'll be voted on at the winter meetings next month. Candidates for the classic baseball era ballot had their most significant career impact before 1980. Nominated players must have had 10 or more major league seasons. Managers and umpires must have had 10 or more major league seasons and have been retired for at least 5 years. Executives must have been retired for at least 5 years. No one on baseball's ineligible list can be nominated.
Worth pointing out, I suppose.
It is worth pointing out, absolutely. The committee will consider 8 names, 7 players and a manager. Those named on at least 75% of the ballots. It's a 16-member committee, so those named on at least 12 ballots will go in as part of the 2025 Hall of Fame class. The 8 on the classic era ballot include former Chicago White Sox and Philadelphia Phillies first baseman Dick Allen, 1972 American League MVP, 15 major league seasons, 351 home runs. Former Cardinals third baseman Ken Boyer, 7 All-Star appearances and an MVP award in 1964 when the Cardinals won the World Series. Former Negro League outfielder and standout left-handed pitcher John Donaldson, also managed in the Negro Leagues and later served as a scout for the White Sox. Former Dodgers and Padres first baseman Steve Garvey, another former MVP, 2,500 career hits, retired in 1987, 10-time All-Star. Another Negro League player and manager, Vic Harris, played 17 years, hit .303 for his career, managed 11 seasons for the Homestead Grays with 547 wins, 7 Negro National League pennants, and a World Series championship. Dave Parker, who played for Pittsburgh and Oakland, the Athletics, among others.
Yes.
351 home runs, 154 stolen bases over parts of 19 seasons, 1978 NL MVP, a member of the We Are Family World Series championship team. The late Louis Tiant, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, 229 wins over 19 seasons. Nearly 3,500 career innings. And the guy who has a surgery named for him, Tommy John, 288 career victories. For more than a quarter century. Goodness gracious, I didn't realize he pitched that long. I don't know how he's not in, to be honest.
I was just going to say the same thing, right? I mean, solid career, but then literally being the first patient for a surgery that's unfortunately basically commonplace in the league now.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no telling how many guys have extended careers as a result of the surgery that he underwent. I mean, that alone feels like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The achievements on the field are great and everything, but just from that fact alone seems like it should be a no-doubter.
Absolutely. Maction starts tonight. Couple of games in the Mid-American Conference, weeknight games. Bowling Green is at Central Michigan. Miami of Ohio is at Ball State. So there's a little something else to watch tonight as far as sports offerings. So we will have Joe Sullivan of Main Street Media on tomorrow, and he will begin joining us every Wednesday to talk local basketball. And so we will save Lipscomb's win at Duquesne to discuss with him tomorrow. Let's go ahead and hit a break
real quick. Though, we'll give you a quick shout out. UCF, we already got our first court storming of the year when they beat Texas A&M last night. So the Aggies, tough week for the Aggies.
Oh,
South Carolina got them. And then number 13, the Aggies go down last night. So UCF already our first court storming of the year.
I wonder if they have Big 12 sanctions like they do SEC sanctions for that.
They're probably willing to put up with that, at least at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Although they set the bar high, right? I mean, you rush them now, you still got the rest of the season going. You got Kansas coming in there later in the year. So
let's take a break. Let's come back. It'll be Top 5 Tuesday when we do, as Wade and I give you our top football catches. Stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new, handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
It is the final segment of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, which means it is time for Top 5 Tuesday, presented by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Two great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Whatever shape it is you're in, Thalas Steel will get you in a better one. You can find him at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Mid-South 5 Fitness, bringing you Top 5 Tuesday as Wade and I give you our top 5 football catches. And we have to clarify that because, again, somebody tried to throw some fish at us, and Mark is liable to try to sneak a picture in of one.
Yeah, he can have his fish on a Wednesday for Wild and Wacky. But, yeah, you had texted me last Thursday that the Jets got the big win, and I said, oh, yeah, Garrett Wilson with one of the greatest catches in recent memory. The Hail Mary from Washington didn't even get to a full week before it was basically already replaced. So that's what kind
Life
of
comes at you fast.
Life comes at you fast, and then the butt hurdle has already replaced that catch. So I mean, the NFL is constantly moving. That's kind of what went through my brain when we wanted to come up with this one today.
I like that. With that said, where is the Garrett Wilson catch on your list?
I left it off the list just by being the source material, I guess.
Okay.
But I mean,
the gold
it kind of pains me to do this, but I don't know how you can't go David Tyree with the helmet catch versus the Patriots. I don't want to necessarily pick it, but I don't see how you can't, because given the stakes and given everything and the infamy that's come from it, it feels like it's got to be on my list.
Unfortunately, we may or may not be able to show you video of these, so jot them down and go look them up. But once I realized what the category was, my first thought was MTSU's game at Georgia Tech back in 2012 when Anthony Amos had a one-handed catch at the back of the end zone in a huge road win for the Blue Raiders. Google Anthony Amos, y'all. It's a great catch.
Big catch and big tie-in with the Blue Raiders.
Absolutely.
That is quality. The next one for me, let me get OBJ versus the Cowboys, not because it came against the Cowboys, which is always exciting, but the fact his catch was so good he got put on the cover of Madden because of that catch the next year. So OBJ versus the Cowboys, the one-handed snag in the end zone. kind of the precursor. They kept showing the replays of Wilson side by side with OBJ when that catch went down last Thursday. So that kind of is number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm. My number 2, and I asked you at the beginning of the show, could we have defensive players on this list? Because I think it's my understanding that Mark can actually show this one. 1985, Tennessee versus Alabama. Dale Jones bats a Mike Shula pass in the air and catches it. Mike Shula and Dale Jones were not on the same team, by the way. Big pick in a UT win over Alabama. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, now that's insane level of
athleticism
and difficulty, right?
Big time. That's my number 2.
Since you went defense, I told you guys it would be on my list. Give me Charles Woodson, the one-handed interception versus Michigan State. Saban's pouting on the sideline. You can't get any better. That was the highlight play. Didn't maybe seal his Heisman, but it certainly put him in the right direction with the toe tap on the sideline, one-handed.
Yeah. You dare mention Charles Woodson in this state?
The Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Him and Peyton, same class.
My number 3, staying in the college realm, Alabama receiver Tyrone Prothro against Southern Miss, where he caught the ball with his arms wrapped around the defender for Southern Miss. For my money, one of the best there's ever been. So give me that at number 3.
That is a great pull. That was on my list, and won an ESPY that year for that catch. Up next for me, go throwback, but give me the immaculate reception. High degree of difficulty, high stakes. Franco, just right place, right time. The poor little Raiders, you can say that 2024, it still holds up. But give me Franco and give me the immaculate reception, one of the all-time greats.
I am going to see your immaculate reception and raise you Lynn Swan's diving catch at midfield against Dallas in the Super Bowl. It was in 1975. I'm not sure which Super Bowl it was, but I was a kid watching it, and Lynn Swan, the pride of Alcoa, Tennessee, by the way.
Man, former was it USC AD, former ABC guy. Loved Lynn Swan growing up.
Yep.
My uncle's a diehard Steelers fan, so he loved him as well.
Randy Hughes is out there as a 5th defensive back. 2 linebackers for the Cowboys. Bradshaw is deep, and they're firing downfield. Swan going after covered, and it's Douglas Swan catches it on a circus catch inside the Dallas 45.
Can't tell you the number of VHS tapes, the highlights that play was featured on back in the day. That's a great pull, an all-timer. Up next for me, the catch itself, the actual grabbing of the ball, not the most impressive you ever seen, but when Michael Crabtree then turns and runs into the end zone versus Texas in 2008, stunning the number 1 Longhorns. Kind of a wild sliding doors moment as the Texas Longhorns fall into oblivion for a number of years.
That was kind of the beginning of the end for Texas right there.
Kind of the writing on the wall. And Crabtree on the 4th down comes up with the big snag on the sideline. That has got to be, again, not a great degree of difficulty in the catch.
But the impact of the catch.
But the impact of the catch and staying in bounds, getting into the end zone with 1 second to play. That's on my list.
My number 5, Megatron, as a freshman at Georgia Tech, kind of announced his presence with authority with a one-handed catch against North Carolina State back in 2004 that still kind of defies physical logic and would rank as one of my greats. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday here, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Again, 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Check out Dallas Steel at Steel Athletes, STEEL athletes.com. Come back tomorrow, 2 o'clock. We'll have Joe Sullivan, we'll have that Williams,